Hey Guy, what are you doing?
What's up, guys? Today we are in Jacksonville, Florida, just outside Jacksonville, Florida. We've got a brand new 2026 Explorer ST here today. It's got like 3,000 miles on it. Customer got some, we're gonna do some installs on some customer supplied parts. We got some H&R springs, we got an AFE rear sway bar, and we have some 1¼ spacers. You can pick up all this stuff from lethalperformance.com. Use code Josh1320 and get your parts today, especially if you're in Florida. They keep stuff in stock and they can ship it out almost within a day or two, I think, usually. So, yeah, we did some before measurements. This 2026 seems to be about the same as the rest of the 25s. The interior seats look a little different. Hey, come over here and make yourself useful. All right, look, so we're getting ready to get this wiper cowl off. There's a third bolt for the upper strut mount underneath this wiper cowl. We've already took a bunch of them off, but I'm going to show you here. I got my favorite little Matco. We call this Gilbert. Anyway, so these plastic clips under the hood, screw them up a little bit, and then use that to pull it out. So once that's out, you can lift this up just enough, and then we'll take a 15 millimeter short, and we can reach under there and get that last. So we do that one by hand, and then we can do these other two with an impact ratchet. All right, now we got that third bolt out back in the back. We're going to take the impact and loosen the front tube. I don't take them all the way out just yet, but I want them loosened up. So we got those loosened up. Come on down here. Tools we got here. We already did the other side, so this is going to be we already did the driver's side, so now we're going to wrap up the passenger side. I got a 24 millimeter impact. That's going to be for the bottom strut tower nuts. And then we've also got a 21 millimeter, a T45, and a 21 millimeter wrench, 15 millimeter nubs up on top. So there's some basic tools here. So we're going to get these nuts loosened up. Before we loosen take those nuts out, take my little striker bar here. You can use about anything. I like to get the brake lines. I know some people take the bracket off, but I like to take the lines off themselves. That way they're free to move about. Because once we take these out, this is going to move around. Almost stuck. All right. Both those out. Let that hang down. Yeah, so you can see the brake lines are loose, strut tower's loose. Next we're going to get the sway bar off. For that, we're going to use a 21. I use the impact to break it loose. And then you can do it manually by hand. I've been doing this for a while, so I figured out a way to just speed it up. So then the sway bar's out, this is loose. It's gonna come up on top. We're gonna hold the strut assembly from down below. And then out she comes. Stay tuned. All right, guys, so we're about to take this coil spring apart. I want to make note so you guys don't lose track of it. Come over here and look at it. These top bolts down here, they're going to come up and line up with this first one. And then you'll see it shoots across these. So you want to make sure these line up. And then also across the back of these two little notches line up. You can see here on the side angle that it's kind of tapered. You also have a little set plug right here on the plastic top hat that goes through the top of the strut tower itself. So make sure all those are lined up. That should be lined to that one, to that one. So when you put it back together, don't lose track. This is on the back. So this is Tech Tips with Josh. All right, guys, so we're gonna take the striker bar again. We're gonna get this little top thing off the top of the strut. Now we can have access to that nut. We're also gonna use that to very gently lift the dust boot and get access to the shaft of the shock. Take our vice grips, grab hold of it at the top. And because these are these ain't too compressed, Use your discretion advised. Use at your own safety risk, but they're not too bad to deal with. Yep. Make sure your bottom thing didn't move. Bottom seat for the spring. Set the spring over top. Line it up. Get the piece. Like I said, remember, we want those to line up and these at the back. So, pretty easy to keep track of. And then because these are H&Rs, the only ones we have to use a spring compressor with is the Steetas. You can just kind of push down there. I'm just a 200-pound man. All right, guys, camera malfunction, but now we're back. So we're doing the assembly here. Like I said, make sure these two, where these bolt up, these line up. They come up to this center bolt here. The center bolt, you can tell that by the two notches here on either side. We've already got our nut on. That's pretty basic to do. Even a 200-pound, you can push that down kind of one-handed. If you have a buddy, he can help you. So let's put our vice grip back on. Hold this still so it doesn't spin. And then put your sleeve back on, and she's ready to go back inside the vehicle. All right, so now that we got the top three bolts in, the 15 millimeter bolts for the top hat, we got those in. We only put them about hand tight because we want this to be able to move around a little bit, so we don't have to fight with it. Next, you're going to pick up your control arm. And slide into place. Slip your 24 millimeter bolt in. These are grooved here on the shaft, so once they get started in there, you don't have to have a backup wrench. You can just get them started. Use your dead blow. Put that in. Put your nuts on. I say then when you hit those with the impact, it'll pull the bolts all the way through and tighten it. Make sure you put your rubber brake line back in. Put your sway bar link back in. And your front end is done. Alright guys, so we're using a lot of Milwaukee impact stuff. Real big, huge fan of that. It saves time, saves effort, but sometimes the batteries go dead on you, so don't trust those to give you torque specs, even though with a brand new battery, they can torque at a certain amount of foot-pound. Always go back with a manual ratchet and double check all your suspension stuff. Especially if it's stuff that is important to your safety, always go back and check everything manually. Alright guys, we're back for the rear end. Totally lost track of doing the video, so we went ahead and removed the 13 millimeter bolt that's holding the exhaust hanger back here on the back, and then we also removed the 13 millimeter for a bracket here for the rear subframe, as well as two 13 millimeters for the front subframe, and then the large 24 millimeter bolt, we just loosened it out, about 3 threads on each side. We're not going to take those all the way out, we just want them loosened up because we're going to lower the subframe down. So that's why it's important to loosen the support bracket for the exhaust on the body. We're going to leave them in the hangers, so when we lower that down, all of this comes down together. We've also used a T40 and an 18 millimeter to go ahead and get the sway bar end link removed. We're going to use this gap right here to get the springs out. We're not going to use a compressor at all. We're just going to lower this down until it comes loose and then pull it out. We've got the Pro Eagle 3-ton jack back here under the subframe. We've already got the bolt out on that side, so we're going to go ahead and pull this one out while you're watching. Right, and there's that bracket. So there's one 13 millimeter right there holding that in. That's that little guy there. We click it out. So very, very slowly, we will lower this down. And you can see how the exhaust comes down with the whole subframe. So we'll get that lowered down, get the springs out, and then we'll show you how we put the new springs back in. Alright guys, so now that we got it lowered down, we've got plenty of room here to get this out. And then, but to use my pry bar, come under there and give myself a little extra room. And then just slide right out. So, make sure the rubber seat in the bottom of your bucket is still seated in there correctly. Not sure if you can see that in there. Yeah, make sure that's seated correctly and there's no damage to it. It's not rotted, broken, or whatever. So transfer the top one over, and then we're gonna get the new spring put in. Flat side down on these. I know there's a lot of conversation sometimes about lettering and whatnot, but the flat side is always gonna go down on the bottom of it. So bring the pry bar back. Voila. Alright guys, we're back real quick. So real quick, while if you didn't know, while you have the subframe lowered down, the subframe bolts the sway bar bushing bolts are super easy to get to. So it's a great time to switch out the sway bar. This customer went with the AFE. We put it on the middle notch. That's where the most recommended spot is. You can adjust it from there. So moving forward, we went ahead and took our jack and jacked the subframe back up. We're going to go ahead and put the subframe bolts back in, get it all buttoned up. We're going to get it down on the ground and take it for a test drive. So stay tuned. Alright guys, we're all finished up. We took it for a test drive. Just like we predicted, when we went and started it up, it thought it had been an accident. That's the sensors being changing elevation. Quick trip down the street and back. All the sensors went away. Pull the tape measure out. It's probably going to settle a little bit more. But with the H&R springs, we got about 5/8 drop in the front, and we got a full 1.25" drop in the rear. This might drop about another 1/8 inch to 3/16. We always recommend to drive them about 500 to 1,000 miles and get in alignment. It shouldn't chew your tires up. It's very minimal on the alignment needed. So drive it, let it settle in, and then go get your final alignment. All right, guys. So you can pick up all these parts at lethalperformance.com. Remember to use code JOSH1320, and you can get all these parts. They ship them out, they keep them in stock. They pretty much always got an inventory and all your favorite stuff. Everything for your Ford, Mustang, Explorers, F-150s, and everything above. Miss you, love you, bye.